When I started graduate school, on top of the challenges that I was facing intellectually and academically, I decided that I was also going to challenge myself in learning how to cook. I needed a hobby amidst my studies that was going to keep me sane, be a creative outlet for the things that I was learning, and an opportunity to build skills that I thought were going to be useful for the rest of my life. So I set out trying to learn how to cook some of the foods that my parents prepared at home growing up. And I quickly learned that the right tools for the jobs that I needed were really important. Unfortunately, I didn't know what good tools meant and even where to start. So in this episode, I want to run through the essential tools for any aspiring home cook that they will need in order to make high quality food at home. Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Out There JCH. I'm your host, Jonathan C. Hall. The reason why I wish I would have had a video like this when I was in my 20s was so that I would have not wasted money buying things that I thought were high quality that were actually cheap. And I wish I would have had this episode so that I would have been able to spend my money more efficiently. There are a lot of cooking products out there that are relatively cheap or even expensive that are really just trash quality. What I aim to do in this video is to point you in the direction of high quality cooking materials that are going to last you a lifetime. Many of the things that I'm recommending will be the last time that you purchase any of them. They should last at least several decades, and that's an indication of their quality. Everything on here are going to be absolutely necessary to get started on your home cooking journey. If you'd like to support this channel, use the affiliate links for the items that I'm about to describe. Okay, let's go. Okay, one more thing. Before we get started, the principle of what I'm working with in recommending these different items is buy once, cry once. So some of the items that I'm going to recommend are relatively cheap and affordable, but really high quality, and some are expensive because the quality is really high and because the manufacturing process is pretty complicated. If I'm recommending something and you get a little bit of sticker shock, just know that it's because these items are super high quality, and if they're really expensive, they're going to last you a really long time. Buy once, cry once. All right, let's go. When I first started shopping for pots, pans, and skillets, I went with the cheapest option that was available. And one thing that you notice about cheap items is that they tend to be lightweight, and the more expensive something is, the heavier it gets. Hey folks, I just wanted to take a break and let you know that one of the best ways to get the most out of the content on this channel is to subscribe to my newsletter. Every Sunday, I give you more depth and insight into the topics I cover on Out There JCH, including thoughts and perspectives that I don't really share on this platform. The newsletter is free to sign up, and as an incentive to becoming a subscriber, I'm offering a free wild food resource guide that will help make you a more capable harvester and home cook. Just click the link in the description to sign up. Okay, let's get back to the episode. The same principle applies to cookware. The heavier the cookware, usually the higher the quality. And that has to do with the fact that a heavier item that's made of metal is going to be a better absorber of heat and be able to retain that temperature. And the key to cooking high quality food is even cooking. And a metal that has a larger mass is able to distribute that heat more evenly. But the thing about metal that makes cooking a bit of a challenge, and it's one of the reasons why high quality cookware is expensive, is that the metals that are really good heat absorbers tend to be much more reactive, or the things that we're cooking, like acids and things like that. And the metals that are really durable, like stainless steel, are terrible heat absorbers and reflect heat, and you get these large fluctuations in temperature. So a way to get around the fact that the metal that you want to use for even cooking and heat retention and the metal that you want to use for durability have these opposite sort of strengths and weaknesses is to combine those two metal types into one piece of cookware. And this is what's called cladding. And the company in the United States that developed this high quality cookware first is called all-clad. And the name speaks for itself. And what they've done in all their cookware is to sandwich a heat absorbing, non-durable, more highly reactive metal in between at least two layers of stainless steel. So you get all of the advantages of the durability on the outside surface of the cookware and the inside surface of the cookware. So you can scrape it, you can scrub it, you can scratch it, and it holds its shape, it still looks great. But on the inside, when you're applying heat to that particular cooking item, the metal that's sandwiched on the inside absorbs the heat, distributes it evenly, and you get nice, even cooking food. Of course, this technology, so all of the cookware that I'm going to recommend is probably going to be at least $65 and up. So in terms of saucepans, which is kind of a misleading term in my mind, when I think of a pan, I think of something that's flat. A saucepan, which is like a small pot or a smallish pot with a handle, I would go with a 4-quart saucepan. This is an all-purpose workhorse. You can do all sorts of things in it, from soups to sauces. It's big enough that you can make a dish that feeds more than just 2 people. But it's small enough that you can manipulate it and it's easy to work with. When I was starting out, a 4-quart all-clad saucepan was outside my price range. The one that I wanted to buy was about $150, so I went with anodized aluminum, which didn't really last that long, not very durable, but certainly better than like the cheap plastic Teflon pots that you can buy. No shade if that's all you can afford. Buy that until you can afford a really high quality saucepan. I've recommended this particular saucepan by Made In before in other videos, but as you can see, it's a gorgeous piece of cookware. The thing I like about the 4-quart saucepan is its size, but also the fact that it has a nice sturdy handle, a long handle, so it can get really hot on the stove and you can still handle it without feeling the heat from the pan. And this other feature of this forward handle, or this front handle on the pan, is really nice when this thing is weighed down and I need 2 hands on it to carry it, like if I'm boiling pasta or something like that. A 4 quarts can get pretty heavy to hold in one hand. So having this handle on the end is really useful. If you're buying a saucepan, 4 quarts is a great size. Try to get one that has this second handle on it. The wonderful thing about fully cladded cookware is that it's super durable, it distributes heat really well, holds heat really well, and you will immediately notice a difference in the quality of the food that you make in a pot like this. The last thing I'll say about this saucepan, and any saucepan that you buy, you're going to want to buy one that has this lip on the end of it that's sort of curved upward and out, and that just makes pouring things from here a lot easier. The liquid really kind of just cascades a lot evenly, whereas if this were a just straight up lip, it wouldn't pour out as easily and it would make a much bigger mess. Most of the fully clad saucepans that you buy have this lip, but if you find one without it, I'd go with one that has that lip, which makes pouring a lot easier. This Made In saucepan is about $150. You might be able to find it cheaper, and that's just because there's a lot of metal that's used in making these. The technology in making them is pretty involved, and so you get what you pay for. But this is probably the last saucepan I will buy in my lifetime. I've known people who've been gifted all-clad cookware sets for their wedding, and they've been married multiple decades, and the stuff still works great and looks new. This is gonna set you back a bit, but again, you won't be sorry. Buy once, cry once. High quality cookware is really important if you're just starting out. 4 quarts is an excellent size. Other cookware that you might buy have glass tops. I hate glass tops. It's nice to be able to look at your food without removing the top, but glass tops are not great in terms of being able to stay clean because they usually have a glass surface and then a metal binding around them. And as I mentioned before, the fewer sort of like seams and things that you can have on any of your cookware, the cleaner it's going to be and the higher quality it's going to be. These saucepans usually come with a solid metal stainless steel top, and it's really high quality, durable. It should nest nice and snug inside your saucepan and look amazing. Made In tends to be cheaper than all-clad, and there's another brand called Mizzen that is another direct to the consumer company of fully clad cookware, because you used to only be able to buy all clad at places like Sears or Macy's or JCPenney, department stores like that. And there was a markup for those storefronts to sell that material. These newer companies, Made In and Mizzen, have forced all clad to sell more directly to the consumer. If you are looking to buy all clad, then I would check out their factory seconds sale. So these are cookwares that might have like a minor cosmetic defect that you can buy for a very deep discount. Oftentimes places like Marshall's or TJ Maxx will get some of those cosmetically defective but not functionally defective cookwares from all clad. So check out your TJ Maxx. I have a all clad skillet that I bought for 35% off at TJ Maxx because it had a scratch on the outside. If it's cookware and you're serious about cooking, you're going to cook a lot with it. It's going to get, it's not going to look pristine. So check out those bargains for all clad, or you can buy directly from Made In. I've got links to Made In the description below. I love their materials. It's just as good a quality as all clad, and it works great. In terms of skillets, 3 main types of high quality skillets. Again, a fully clad stainless steel, typically aluminum sandwiched in between, a carbon steel skillet, and a cast iron skillet. The advantages for a fully clad skillet are the same as a saucepan. They're highly durable, they look great, they're great heat absorbing, and you can put those fully clad, the stainless steel pots, in the dishwasher. I tend not to put any of my pots and pans in the dishwasher, and you definitely wouldn't want to do that with cast iron or a carbon steel because it changes the metal. But for the stainless steel products that are fully clad, you can put those in the dishwasher and they work great. Carbon steel skillets, I've never used one and I don't own one, but that's only because I have the 2 other types of skillets that I use and I haven't found a need to purchase a 3rd type just to have it. But I know that people who have them are very happy with them. You wouldn't want to put it in a dishwasher, but they're also very durable otherwise, and you can develop a seasoning on a carbon steel skillet. They're lightweight, so they're easy to travel with. They're not as heavy as the clad and certainly not as heavy as the cast iron. So a great product that I haven't used, so I can't recommend any of them, but people who use them swear by them. If anything should happen to the skillets that I have, then I'd probably spring for a carbon steel skillet. The thing I love about cast iron is that it's heavy and it's thick, so it absorbs heat really well. It retains heat really well. There are times when I'm like making scrambled eggs in a cast iron pan, and I can turn the stove off and there's enough residual heat to cook the eggs just the way that I like it. So really absorbent, super durable, super cheap. You can buy a Lodge cast iron skillet for like $25 and that thing will outlive you and probably your children as long as you take care of it. You never want to put it in a dishwasher. Kosher salt to get up the gritty bits with a plastic scrubber, and then just hot water. And that's so that you can develop a seasoning, which is that sort of oily layer that develops over time. The disadvantage is the size and the weight. Cast iron can be really heavy, and so if you want to get fancy with it and be flipping pancakes and making crepes and stuff like that, and you need to lift up the pan, cast iron is not really the best thing for that. And so I tend to use cast iron as an all-purpose heavy-duty skillet, but I would recommend, in terms of size, 10-inch skillet or a 12-inch skillet, no smaller or bigger than that. 10 inches tends to be a great all-purpose size. A 12-inch skillet is going to be bigger for some of the larger jobs that you have, so you might want to look into one of those. And I would say, as a beginning cook, I would buy 2 types of skillets. I would get a cast iron skillet and maybe a carbon steel skillet, or a cast iron skillet and a stainless steel fully clad skillet. You had to buy one, I would go with cast iron just because it's so durable, it'll last. You can cook it out on a campfire, cook it out on the stove, you can put it in the oven, no problem. And then the other sort of lightweight skillet is really up to you. Carbon steel skillets tend to be between $50 and $150. The fully clad tends to be around the same price. The reason to buy the fully clad one is that you could put it in the dishwasher. The reason why you would want to have the carbon steel skillet is because you could develop that seasoning. It's non-stick, but both are equally as durable. So 3 types of skillets. I'd buy 2 of them just so you have a lightweight and a heavy duty one. Last but not least, we'll end with the most expensive item for the beginning kitchen. And I saved this for last because it is probably the last thing that you want to purchase in terms of all of the things that I recommended. And that's simply because it's the most expensive. It is an essential tool to have in a kitchen. Now, your stock pot should be at least twice the volume of your saucepan. So if you're going with a 4-quart saucepan, you should buy at least an 8-quart stock pot. And that's just so you have a size difference so that you can allocate the biggest jobs to that stock pot and keep the smaller jobs to your saucepan. Now, the reason why stock pots tend to be more expensive is because they're simply more metal. Now, there's 2 basic stock pots that I would recommend. It would be the fully clad stock pot. That's a lot of metal. They're really big. It's gonna set you back probably at least $150, and they can be much more expensive than that. I wouldn't go larger than 12 quarts simply because for indoor cooking, a 12-quart stock pot is pretty big and it's gonna take up a good amount of space on your stove. So 8 quarts, 10 quarts, really great size. You can make soup for a lot of people. You can make broths. You can do all sorts of stuff, big jobs that require a lot of liquid. Pasta for a lot of people, stock pot is really great. You can get a cast iron stock pot. The one that you would use in like outdoor cooking is a cast iron Dutch oven. I don't recommend those simply because if you're gonna be braising something over a long period of time that might have some acid in it, you don't want it to react with the metal that you're cooking with. But luckily, you can buy a cast iron stock pot that's non-reactive, and that is an enameled cast iron stock pot. Now, what the enamel coating on the cast iron does is it makes that surface non-reactive, and it makes it a lot more durable. I wouldn't recommend using metal spoons on your enameled cookware, but wooden spoons, silicone spatulas are perfect and fine to use on those surfaces. The reason why you would want to go with an enameled cast iron is because you get the benefits of having that heavy metal that absorbs heat and retains heat, but the enamel coating makes that surface durable and non-reactive. So you can make a pasta sauce, a homemade pasta sauce in an enameled stock pot and not worry about the acid from the tomatoes reacting with the exposed iron in the stock pot and changing the flavor of the food that you have. The unfortunate thing about putting an enamel coating on what would otherwise be a very cheap metal is that enamel coating is expensive. The most expensive enameled stock pots that you can buy, Dutch ovens that you could buy, tend to be Le Creuset, which is a French company that makes these stock pots, and an 8-quart Le Creuset Dutch oven is probably gonna set you back several $100s. Any sort of like main pot that you buy, and the reason why I save this for last, should be probably at least $150 or more. I have yet to find a cheaper stock pot that is of appropriate quality that you can buy. You can buy, they can be cheaper. You can buy a stock pot, an 8-quart or 10-quart stock pot for like $50. To me, that's a waste of money. I would just stick with your 4-quart saucepan, do the best you can with that until you can afford a really high quality large stock pot, because at $50 is essentially going to be wasted. It's not going to cook your food evenly because the metal quality is not going to be great, or it's going to be very highly reactive to those foods and it's not going to be as versatile. And so save up your pennies until you can buy a really high quality stock pot. But in this case, price is a pretty good indicator of quality for the stock pots. And so if I had to choose between the fully clad stock pot or the enameled cast iron stock pot, I would choose the enameled cast iron simply because the metal is thicker and heavier, and what you want for these big pots with these big jobs is it to be a good absorber of heat and to be really durable and last a lifetime. And the fully clad ones are durable, but their heat retention is not as good as cast iron, and so I would go with that. So I think when I replace my current Dutch oven, which now that I'm talking about it more and more, I probably should do that, I'm gonna spring for a nice 10-quart enameled stock pot, because I tend to make dishes that tend to be larger. And I also wanna get a 12-quart fully clad stock pot for some of the canning jobs that I have, and then also for making like big, huge pots of bone broth, things like that. That's the rundown of everything. You certainly don't have to buy all of these things at once, but it gives you an idea of what it takes to make high quality food at home and the materials and tools that you're going to need in order to do that. I've recommended all of these things with links in the description with the idea that you buy once and you cry once. Until you can afford a $150 4-quart fully clad stock pot, don't waste your money on the saucepans that just have that disc that's there, and you'll notice it when it has a seam around there. Don't spend $60 on a saucepan like that, because the quality of the food that you're going to be able to make in that is not very good, and you're then going to wish that instead of spending that $60 after you had saved that, you had just waited a little bit longer and made do with your $30 saucepan. Save that $60 until you have $150 for this. Don't skimp on the quality, and until you have enough money to afford the high quality stuff, go with the cheapest thing that you can find so that you can save your money faster. So thanks for making it all the way to the end of the video. Once again, if you want to support this channel or show your appreciation for this video, please use the affiliate links in the description. I make a small commission off of the things that I recommended. I'll absolutely add to this video. This is the beginner version, what I call the do everything kitchen, because you have the things that I recommended in this video. You can do just about anything in the kitchen and do it really well. All right, that's all I have for now. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next episode of